Howdy, soldiers. Happy Pride Month, everybody! Oh my god, it's June. Please indulge me in a hot beverage, even though it is currently 23 degrees outside, because you will have to pry hot beverages from my cold dead hands. I don't even have to be dead, cold living hands. I have low iron. And I feel like a broken record at this point, because in every video lately, I've been like, oh my god, I've been so busy, life has just been so chaotic lately, I'm doing so many things, but somehow I managed to read books. Like, you know the drill. Why am I even bother doing an intro? In the month of May, I managed to read 6 books, and I would like to talk about them with you this evening. I also am on my period and have a massive headache right now, so I'm a little out of it, but I think it's gonna make this video more fun. We got epic battles, we got ladies with swords, we get cozy lesbians, and we also have the worst man that I've read in a long time. A love interest to throw into the sun if there ever was one. We have multiple sequels. Girls, she is doing so good on her goal for 2025, reading more sequels. She is crushing it. Without further ado, grab a drink, grab a snack, buckle in, and join me while we talk about these 6 books that I managed to read in May. May was a good month. There was a lot of good things that came out in May, and I read a lot of great stuff. So there's no official tier ranking or favorites of this month. But the first one I want to talk about is one that's a little extra special, because I'm talking about A Curse Carved in Bone by Danielle L. Jensen, the sequel to A Fate Inked in Blood, and the second of her Saga of the Unfated duology. I got sent a copy of this by Del Rey because when Danielle came to Vancouver on the Curse Carved in Bone tour, I was her moderator for the event. I first met Danielle back in like 2016, and we've been mutuals online for a very long time, and so it was so exciting to see her grow and her series get so much more recognition because she's such a great author, and it was very nice of her to ask to have me as moderator when she came to my city, so that was just really good. It was a great memory, and also the event was wonderful. Fantastic audience. Thank you to anybody, if you're watching, who came. The Saga of the Unfated is an action-packed Viking-inspired Norse mythology fantasy romance novel that features Bjorn and Freya, who are 2 children of the gods who are trying to escape the fate that is given to them while their countries are at war and their godly gifts are being exploited. And while in the first one, we're learning more about Freya's magic, and we're exploring this new connection we have with this sexy man with his fire axe, and starting to understand more of why Nordland and Scotland are at war, and then also how she fits into it. If this one goes a little off the rails, we get fire magic, we get ship battles, of underworld shenanigans, and a lot of sexy shirtless men. And while the first book is single POV, we only hear from Freya, in the sequel we get dual POV, so we also get to hear from Bjorn, and as Danielle put it, we get to understand that he's more than just biceps, and I loved it. Bjorn is the wife guy to end all wife guys, and you know how much I love a pathetic man. And Freya in this is embracing her monstrous side and kind of becomes a bit of a villain, which I love. I really like the twists and turns. This got surprisingly dark, and I was all here for it. That being said, I did think this was a little messy. The middle felt a little stretched out to me, and then I also really think she dropped the ball on the epilogue. So if you would like to read this, I would actually suggest not reading the epilogue, because I'm going to do a little spoilery section here. Okay, so jump to this time frame if you don't want spoilers for this. So both these books have always been about Freya yearning to not be what she is. It's all about her wanting to be uncontrolled and to be left alone, and then to have a quiet life with Bjorn and like raise children. But then at the ending, there's this whole thing about how restless she is and how bored she is with this quiet life that they have, and how she's like ready to go on adventure again, and she's ready to risk herself. And I think that could have been a really interesting plotline to strengthen, like how she still has PTSD, but she like can't get rid of that like restlessness to like go out and fight. That would have been so good to explore more. And I think by tacking it on as an epilogue, it kind of cheapened that storyline. This is one of the very rare instances where I wish this was a trilogy and not a duology. And we are going to discuss that a little bit more with another book coming up. But overall, did really love this book. Danielle has peak romantasy writing, and I'm so happy that I have the memories associated with this that I do. And I'm very excited to have it displayed on my shelf. Actually, next, why don't we just talk about the one that I'm mad at? Firstly, I gotta say, I loved this book. I thought See You at the Altar by Rebecca Thorne, 3rd of the Tomes and Tears series, was such a good 3rd book. I love Raina and Kian. I love how their relationship changes. I love this whole dynamic of like trying to plan a wedding as a ruse to overthrow the queen. Great story. The epilogue, absolute killjoy, ruined the book for me. Everyone's favorite lesbian tea shop owners have to navigate the worst of the worst their own wedding. There's baby dragons causing chaos. Kian's parents are in town, and the queen wants to overthrow their own wedding by inviting herself. Man, wedding stress is crazy these days. Like, planning a coup, planning a wedding, basically the same thing. This one is definitely the funniest out of the entire trio, and it did a really good job balancing silly, goofy, with these very sweet, heartfelt moments that I love from Rebecca Thorne. We're deconstructing systems of power, we're looking inwards when we're a people pleaser, and we have a very interesting breakdown on faith and religion, particularly how you're able to keep multiple faiths alive at the same time, and yet also what it means to fall out of faith. It was very interesting and surprisingly deep. This is also the gayest one. It just reminds me of like the Spider-Man meme when everyone's pointing at each other, but they're like, gay! And the espionage of it all is very funny. Kian, like, trying to be sneaky. It's just, she's so bad at it. And it led to some of my favorite scenes. And then I got to the epilogue. I hated the epilogue. Now, some of this, I fully admit, could have been my fault because I was under the impression this was going to be a trio. And surprise, there's actually going to be 4. Fine. I don't have to like it, but that's what's going on. But the way that she did it was awful. What do you mean there's gonna be a 4th one? I was having a grand old time with wrapping up this story and everything was wonderful and sweet and had all these wonderful feelings. And then Rebecca, you had to go and ruin it. That is not a girl's girl move. I literally debated about ripping out the epilogue and then just pretending that this is just a trilogy. And I still might do it. I really liked this book and I really hated the final like 4 pages. And then a novella that I finished literally the final day of May was I finally picked up All Systems Read by Martha Wells, the first of the Murderbot Diaries, and you know what? I get what all the hype's about. This was great. A short sci-fi novella that follows a security cyborg bot as it oversees a cohort of scientists on a new planet. But when they find out that the other team of scientists that they came with has been murdered, and it looks like they've been killed by their sec unit robots, the team and the so-called Murderbot, the nickname that it gives itself, are drawn into a larger corporate conspiracy and are trying to escape this unknown attacker. I would go to bat for this sassy, condescending, pessimistic murder bot who just wants to be left alone so it can watch its soap operas. This sarcastic kind of anti-hero hacker bot really draws you into this world full of sabotage and espionage and corporatocracy. It's so funny having this character who has hacked its own mainframe so that it doesn't have to do the commands of its general, and it's just like, yeah, that's nice. I'm gonna go watch my soaps over here. Like, let me know if anything happens. And then when people call upon them, they're like, oh my god, I have to work. This is ridiculous. Which, like, very relatable. Like, I was cackling at the scene when Murderbot finally gets confronted about watching soap operas. And I was also listening to it as an audiobook on a bus. So I was trying not to laugh on a bus. And I think the person that was next to me thought I was having a stroke or something. The combination of the first person Murderbot perspective and also just Martha Wells' writing gives a different twist on the tension of this novel. Like, it's spelled out in a way that makes the reader really feel that you're in the scene and that you're not just watching it. The whole found family aspect of it was great. Like, Murderbot, like, learning how to have feelings, and the crew themselves was so wonderful. I especially like Valescu and Pigny. And I know the TV show just came out. So many of my book blogger friends have been talking about it. And I knew that, but at the same time, about halfway through, I was reading it like, damn, you know what this would be really good as? This would be a really great TV show. So I'm so glad that somebody else had that thought like 4 years ago and has turned that into something that I can watch, which I probably am going to do because I think this would be fantastic visual media. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue on with the series, but I could be convinced. Oh, I'm starting to regret the hot tea. I am sweaty. For this next book, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. I have a lot of feelings towards this book, and I still don't know if they're good or bad. I went to post-secondary education for 9 years. I have an English degree, and I still cannot properly articulate my feelings over this book. What has it done to me? I was sent a gorgeous copy of Our Infinite Fates by Laura Stephen by Raincoast, and this was pitched to me as Addie LaRue meets This Is How You Lose the Time War, which, like, yes, but also no. Our main character Evelyn is a 17-year-old living in modern-day Wales, and she is a reincarnated soul who has never made it past her 18th birthday. She can remember all of her past lives, and this means that she remembers that just before she turns 18, in every life she's ever had, she's been murdered by another soul named Arden. But as the clock ticks down to her 18th birthday, she starts to realize that not only has she not seen Arden in this cycle yet, but that she's quite fond of the life that she currently has. She loves her mother and her little sister who's in the hospital for cancer. She's about to give her bone marrow, and she cannot not live past 18. So if she wants to keep the life she has, she's gonna have to figure out a way to break the cycle that she and Arden are in and try not to fall in love along the way. First impressions, I mean, beautiful. Just gorgeous writing about melancholy and grief and love and longing, anger and the magnetism between Evelyn and Arden in every cycle, how they're being drawn together life after life, and yet the suspicion and the mistrust that discolors everyone. We get flashbacks throughout the novel of their past lives, which I loved. I love getting to see them in different lights and in different scenarios and as different genders, because this is a queer book. Both our main characters are gender fluid and hop in and out of different bodies depending on what life they're in. So there I was, about halfway through, having the time of my life. And then that's kind of when things started to go downhill. First of all, poetry is a very large theme in here, and I loved the poetry in here, but I loved the poems more than I liked the actual story. So I'm like, why didn't you just release a poetry book? And maybe the biggest flaw of this entire book is that I did not like Arden. I did not like our love interest. He gives nothing, and not in a like, ooh, sexy, mysterious way, but in a like, I want to slap him way. You're telling me that the girl that you love throughout time with all your heart and soul, that you've reincarnated over and over again to spend every lifetime with her, you're not going to tell her vital information that will affect both of you? It took forever to get to the point. And I know it was supposed to be like, ooh, this drawn out mystery, but I was kind of like, yeah, okay, I get it. Like, let's go. I'm not stupid. Like, wrap this up. And I loved the twist, but there wasn't enough foreshadowing. And because of that, it was kind of a boring ending. Like, it was pretty tame, all things considered. This is so beautiful, yet I can clearly pick out its flaws, and that's what makes me upset, because I'm like, this has so much potential, and it just didn't quite get there. That being said, I guess this is the more romantic YA version of Addie LaRue, sort of ish. So maybe you would like that if you like this. I don't know. Buy it if you want to. I'm not your real dad. God, this next one I also have a lot of thoughts about, because I have a lot of feelings, but I do go here. This is my house, and you're gonna hear about them. I saw so many of my book blogger friends get advanced copies of this, so I was hooked. I was sold. I was ready to cross country lines to rob some of these people to get myself an early copy of this. So the day that it came out, I went and I got a copy of The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. You know how the joke of like bisexuals like moths and swords? This makes so much sense. The queen of gothic fantasy has done it again. This is a gorgeous book where our main character Sybil is one of 6 prophetesses who live at this abbey and drink blood and then are drowned. And every time she drowns, she has these prophetic dreams that are sent to her by their gods. But when the new boy king comes knocking at her abbey's door, Sybil is tasked with giving him a good omen. And when the company is around, she finds out there's a mysterious, very handsome knight in his accompaniment that does not believe in their magic. But she's gonna have to trust this heretical knight as her sisters go missing one by one, and she is drawn in on a quest to destroy the gods of their world. Okay, so a bisexual muscle queen, a pathetic man wearing eyeliner carrying fantasy weed, a small gargoyle who can't say an idiom to save his life, and a pantheon of false gods walk into a bar. This book is not what I expected it to be, but I also had a fantastic time with it. I mean, Rachel Gillig is a fantastic writer. It's all wet stone and cold steel and drowning dreams and the softness of moth wings. At the beginning, I love the camaraderie of the sisterhood and the little gargoyles and their personalities. And I knew she was good at writing action sequences from One Dark Window, but damn, did she ever level up in this book. Her action scenes are so good. Particularly, my favorite was when she's fighting the omen in the lake. Her physical intimacy scenes are also so good. Not only because like, ooh, sexy times, but like the softness and the closeness and the vulnerability that makes up intimacy is so well paced. Like her reveals are so well done, no pun intended. And this man, Rory, literally said, "Step on me, mommy." I love But there were also some things about this that I didn't love. If my body goes missing after this, know that it was probably Sam from Ladybug Books who disposed of me. I know that she loves this book so much, and I did also love this book. That being said, the whole inciting incident happened way too fast. There was not enough tension build up, and in my humble atheist opinion, she shakes off her religious trauma with like nary a care in the world. So I'm hoping she'll have the pacing figured out a little bit better in the sequels, because it encompassed the beautiful, painful burden of being alive. Come on, how can I not be obsessed with that too? And last but not least, I know I said I wasn't doing this in any particular order and that I didn't have favorites, but I straight up lied to you, and that's why you shouldn't trust people on the internet. I did in fact have a favorite this month, and so I've left the best for last. I finally finished a series, which... Thank you. Applause, applause. I finished the third of a trilogy, and it feels so good to see the whole thing lined up on my shelf. I finished Faithbreaker by Hannah Canner. If you haven't read Godkiller and Sunbringer yet, you freaking gotta. This is my most highly rated fantasy series, I think, of all time. 5 stars all around, 10s across the board. A diverse high fantasy novel that is set in the aftermath of a war between gods and men. And from the beginning, we follow a Godkiller assassin, a ex-soldier, and a young noblewoman with a small god attached to her as they all meet and are going to the final stronghold city of gods to ask a favor, as it turns out that the dark gods of old are rising once again. And in this finale, we are facing down many things. We are facing gods bloated by the power of war, pirate ship battles on the open sea, getting freaky with people that you were not expecting to, and enough religious fervor to break a city. It goes so much into faith, and what does it mean for someone to have faith in something? How do you break faith? What does it mean to make a pantheistic people a monotheistic religion? Without giving too much of a spoiler, I really loved Kissin and Lessa's arc. It's very mom and mommy. My favorite character, Grace in the cover, Skediseth, his whole arc is like half belief, but also like having to believe in himself. Elagast and Arin's fraught relationship finally coming to a close in a way that I was not expecting, but also didn't mind. Like, I was kind of glad we didn't get a full redemption arc, because honestly, Arin doesn't deserve it. The final battle sequence was incredible. She's so good at immersing you in your senses, and the whole story is just full of these stomach-churning scenes of fire and battle. I sobbed at the end of this. Just the push and the pull of love and hate and faith, especially considering that so many people die in this. Oh my god. A very powerful series with a very powerful ending. And like, honestly, thank God. Like, I was in an emotionally fraught state, and if this wasn't good, I don't know what I would have done. Like, this was a load-bearing book, and that is that on that. Thank you all for joining me this evening. Please leave down below what books that you read in May, or if you read any of the ones that I did and you want to talk about them. I do wish I had read some more, because I am very behind on my Goodreads goal, and if you saw my last couple of videos, your girl's been hauling books, which is probably not a good idea. Like I said last week, I know I am the problem, and I'm not willing to be the solution. Although, reading less books means my wrap-ups take less time to film, which is actually kind of nice, because I desperately need time to work on a couple of big craft projects that are due in like 4 days, and I have barely started on. I have to go clean, I have to go pack, I have to go sew, and I have to go bead. So maybe I'll pop in the second of the Murderbot Diaries audiobook so that I can read while I do it. You know where to click to like the video. You know where to click to subscribe. Once again, happy Pride. I hope you guys are all having a nice day wherever you are, and I will see you all next week. Bye!